There has been a big piece of news. In the divine realm recently, Lucifer, who was in charge of hell, has quit his job. He closed the gates of hell, dismissed all the demon employees, and was going to find a place to have a peaceful vacation.
I could lie on a beach somewhere, perhaps. Listen to music.
Before leaving, Lucifer handed the key to hell to Dream for safekeeping. As soon as all kinds of demons and ghosts heard the news, they all rushed to apply for the job. This is a very stable and secure job, so they went in a mighty procession to Dream's home for an interview. They all used all kinds of means to bribe the examiners. Some presented the enemies of Dream, and some used all kinds of means to threaten and induce, who will eventually get the wonderful job of being in charge of hell. We close our eyes and fall asleep, then we come to a world called the dreaming. This is where Dream Lord constructs people's inner fears and fantasies. On this day, the Endless held a family meeting. Destiny, Death, and our leading role, Dream, arrived. First, then came Desire, Despair, and Delirium, the youngest daughter of the Endless. So far, 6 of the 7 members had gathered. With only one left, Destiny said that no matter where the other one was, his attitude towards this matter was clear, so it didn't matter whether he showed up or not. Destiny asked his brothers and sisters to take their seats. He explained that earlier that day, the 3 sisters had visited his garden. Their words were like oracles, vague and ambiguous. To put it bluntly, they were 3 riddlers.
Look in your book, and know this: a king will forsake his kingdom.
Life and death will clash and fray.
The oldest battle begins once more.
Destiny honestly checked his book and found that it clearly showed that something important would happen, and this meeting was the trigger. So Destiny summoned everyone here, because they had to be here at this time. Dream felt bored, and just wanted to hurry back to build his own kingdom, but everyone stopped him, saying that they hadn't gathered for centuries. It was just sitting down and chatting, which wouldn't take much time. Dream wasn't interested in family talks.
I can make you want one.
Careful, sibling.
Desire, as the name suggests, can arouse and manipulate people's desires. Dream had always disliked this younger brother, believing that his existence was to corrupt and interfere with others. The two soon had an argument. Delirium looked at the 7th empty seat, missing the absent one more, and more.
We never argued when he was here. Why didn't we ever try to find him?
Because he explicitly asked us not to.
Seeing that they were about to have another quarrel, Dream immediately left the table. He deeply missed his lover, Nada. She was the ruler of the first people. Nada was different from ordinary mortals. Her dreams weren't for herself, but for her people. Nada dreamed of a city without poverty, disease, or political strife, and strived to make it a reality. In short, she was the purest soul Dream had ever seen, so Dream couldn't help but go to see Nada. The two fell hopelessly in love. Every day, Nada sent guards to search for her beloved in the city. She even looked for him in her dreams. Finally, unable to bear the pain of longing, Dream appeared in Nada's dream. Only then did she realize that her lover was actually the Lord of the Dreaming. Mortals weren't capable of loving the Endless, for doing so would only bring disaster, but love was irresistible. The consequence of Nada's willfulness was disaster for her people. A meteorite from the sky reduced her city to ruins, and her people perished in the fire. Nada was willing to pay for her selfishness, to be cast into hell for this life and all future lives.
You would condemn yourself to an eternity of suffering, rather than accept an eternity of my love.
Dream gave Nada a choice: marry him and become a god of the Endless, or be cast into hell for all eternity. But it was obvious that Nada chose redemption. After hearing this story, Death didn't sympathize with her elder brother. He shouldn't have gotten involved with humans, nor should he have sentenced Nada to eternal hell. That girl should have had a third choice, to live her life well. Now, it had been 10,000 years since Nada was imprisoned. She had fulfilled her duty to her people. Upon hearing this, Dream suddenly realized, and was determined to go to hell to seek justice for Nada. Death panicked after hearing this. I didn't ask you to go to hell and cause trouble. I just hoped you would reflect on yourself, and learn from your failed past.
If I have committed a wrong, I must make it right.
Not all wrongs can be.
Unluckily, once Dream had made up his mind, he wouldn't easily change it. He asked Death to inform the others that he had to leave, then set off for hell. This was precisely the major event that this meeting was meant to advance. At this time, he returned to his domain and handed over all affairs to Lucian. His lackeys were somewhat dissatisfied with their leader's decision. Is it worth risking the whole kingdom to save one soul? Dream said, don't try to persuade me anymore. I've already sent a messenger to find Lucifer. This messenger is none other than Cain, the son of Adam and Eve, whom we all know. Cain delivered the message that Dream was coming to hell. Lucifer was furious after hearing this, because Dream had publicly humiliated her during his last visit to hell. Lucifer swore to destroy him. Now that Dream was coming to his door, isn't this a good thing? On the other hand, before setting off, Dream went to say goodbye to his friends in their sleep, and Cain had already been sent back by Lucifer.
They're waiting for you. An army of demons. Millions of them. Go, my lord.
beg you to reconsider.
As we all know, those who weren't stubborn enough can't be leading roles, so Dream still set off. There were countless gates leading to hell. Some entrances were heavily guarded, some gates were poorly guarded. As a member of the Endless, Dream had no choice but to take the palace gate. And Lucifer had already opened the gate and was waiting. Hell was eerily quiet. Lucifer soon appeared and asked Dream to take off his helmet. She promised, "As long as we are in the realm of hell, I won't do anything to harm you." So Dream had to take off his helmet, but Lucifer said that she had already sent Nada away, including all demons, the cursed, and the unborn. She had taken them all away. Lucifer had been in this lousy place for tens of billions of years. She was already tired of working here, and when she heard that Dream was coming, her first thought was to take revenge. But then she thought, if Dream could leave his realm whenever he wanted, why couldn't she disband the demons and leave hell? Dream immediately realized the seriousness of the problem. Can the creatures of hell be disbanded just like that, or have they all gone now? Lucifer said indifferently that they could be in heaven, the mortal world, the ghost realm, anywhere. Those souls in hell always say that their crimes in life were driven by demons, but I never ordered any of them to do anything. These people just expected me to satisfy their desires for pain and revenge.
But I'm done with all that. Hell is closed. I have sealed or raised all the gateways.
After Lucifer finished speaking, she closed the last gate, then begged Dream to cut off her wings. Once this was done, she wanted to find a beach, listen to music and take a vacation. Dream helped Lucifer gain freedom. Indiana return. She pointed out that Nada was beyond the wilderness. Then Lucifer gave the key to hell to Dream. After all, she had sworn to destroy him, and there was more than one way to destroy someone. Hell was the dark reflection of heaven, so its ruler possessed immense power, surpassing any entity in other realms. Even if this key couldn't destroy Dream, it would never let him live in ease. This was Lucifer's revenge on Dream. Now all demons and cursed beings had been set free. Soon, all gods and creators would appear at Dream door in anger. He must first talk to Death, his sister told Dream. You have two choices now, either take the key Lucifer gave you and rule hell yourself, or give the key to someone else. But hell needed a responsible ruler, and Dream's top choice in his heart was Death. But his sister wasn't stupid. Recently, Death had been so busy bringing back the deceased, that she was exhausted. She would never take on the mess that is hell. No sooner had the words been spoken than Thor, the god of thunder, arrived with a large group of gods. Dream instructed Lucian to open the door and welcome the guests. For them, these people were more dangerous as enemies than as guests, so Dream planned to hold a noble banquet. Perhaps he could find someone among this group who could take over hell. After the door opened, a crowd filed in. Lucian stood at the door to handle registration, listening to them report their names. They were mostly familiar faces. There was Odin, the Allfather of the Aesir. He also brought his sons Thor of the Aesir, and Loki the Jotun giant. There were also the Princess of Chaos and the sons of Isanagi. Even the former commander of Lucifer's demon army came to the heart of the dreaming for the key to hell. Dream straightforwardly announced, "Hell is temporarily mine, but I will respect and assess each of your claims to this territory, then I will decide who to give the key to." Later, Kruller and Nuala, ambassadors from the fairy court, arrived late. Before attending the banquet, the two delivered a message from the king and Queen. According to an ancient treaty, Fairy must pay a tithe to hell, 9 citizens of Fairy, once every 7 years. The king and queen hope that Dream won't grant anyone else the right to rule hell. If hell is empty, it will be greatly beneficial to Fairy, for then they won't have to pay the tax. Dream said he would make a decision after talking to everyone. Kruller, having only delivered the message, couldn't wait to enter the banquet. He wasn't interested in the kingdom's official affairs. The cook called a handsome young man over to serve.
May I show you to your table?
You may show me anything you like.
Dream didn't join the table, for once he appeared, everyone would behave properly, so it was better to observe from the shadows. Lucian thought Lord Odin wasn't bad. He had wisdom and experience in ruling hell, but Dream thought Odin was too eager. Otherwise he wouldn't have released Loki from the prison in the underworld. Loki was too cunning and malicious to be set free, and Odin had brought Loki here, simply to have the master of deception lend him a hand. But he forgot that no one could deceive Dream within his realm, so Loki advised Odin to negotiate with Dream and bribe the host. But the question was, what chips did they have to offer a god who had everything? No sooner had the words been spoken than Thor, son of Odin, began flirting around, making inappropriate insinuations. In the end, he provoked the she-demon Spider-Woman into action. These people were like firecrackers that could ignite at the slightest spark. And it wasn't long before they were about to fight. In the end, Dream couldn't stand by and intervened. Within his realm, even the power of the god of thunder couldn't run amok. At this time, 2 angels, Remiel and Duma, arrived. They had come to oversee the banquet, for hell and its ruler were of great importance to the creator. They were now watching the gathering with interest, waiting for Dream to make a decision. The dinner was drawing to a close when Cain transformed into a master. magician, brought a performance to everyone. Taramus, the head chef in charge of the cuisine, couldn't help but ask the boss if angels ate. Dream explained that they neither ate nor slept, and were the eyes, hands, feet, and mouthpieces of the Creator.
God has no idea what to do with hell, or they'd have taken the key from you straight away. They are only here because they know you will make the right decision.
Just then, Childermus, the embodiment of order, sent a servant to pass a message. For many years, the Lords of Order have been collecting the dream essence of the newly deceased. My master, whose hands are skilled, is willing to offer you. The servant was interrupted by Dream before finishing his words. Why would I, the great king of dreams, be interested in the dream essence of mortal deceased? If I really need it, I will get it myself. There's no need to trouble your master. Having just seen off one servant, the Princess of Chaos immediately approached. She didn't want to bribe Dream. Instead, she wanted to threaten him to hand over the key. Otherwise, the army of Chaos would pour out in full force, take Dream life, and continue until the end of time. Naturally, Dream wasn't afraid of threats. At the same time, the Spider-Woman drew near. Duke Colossan of the 8th Circle of Hell said, "That Lord Azazel has prepared a gift for you. Please come to my room to get it later." Azazel, whom the Spider-Woman spoke of, was the aforementioned Prince of Hell, the former commander of Lucifer's demon army. When the magic show reached its exciting part, Azazel couldn't wait to follow the Spider-Woman into the inner room and put his hand under her clothes. Countless spiders crawled from his fingertips onto Colossan's body, and soon wrapped him up in spider webs. The Spider-Woman said with glee, "One of the gifts Lord Azazel intends to present to Dream is you." Duke Colossan, Susanoo no Makoto, son of Izanagi, called out to him. This person was in charge of storms. In his youth, he had a very fiery temper, and hurt many family members and friends around him, so his father exiled him to Ninokuni, the land of the dead, and it was there that Susanoo learned that the land of the dead could also be a place to take root. In another sense, death was also a kind of rebirth. He hoped to pass on this insight to all the dead, so he came to fight for the key to hell. Dream didn't give a direct answer, only saying that he would give the matter the most careful consideration. Finally, Odin couldn't hold back and came to talk to Dream. He said bluntly, "I can give you what you want, and tell you the whereabouts of your missing brother." Dream asked Odin in return, "Why do you want to rule hell?" The latter confessed truthfully, "Naturally, to prevent Ragnarok from coming, which will completely end my subjects." Dream didn't understand how ruling hell could prevent Ragnarok. Odin replied, "The Aesir live in Asgard, the giants in Jotunheim, and the dark elves in Svartalfheim. We are all competing for territory, because none of us have anywhere else to go. With the key to hell, Odin will have an extra piece of territory to settle his people." In short, he hoped that Dream would carefully consider his suggestion. At the same time, Cain put his brother into a meat grinder, and the magic trick of turning him into sausages finally came to an end. Dream walked onto the stage and announced that tonight's entertainment was over. He would announce who the key to hell would finally belong to the next day. After Dream finished speaking, he left the hall. Lucian stepped forward and asked his master if he had a suitable candidate in mind. Dream said that he had indeed selected 2 candidates. Lucian had to tell his master that Lord Azazel had requested a private meeting with him before that. Logically speaking, Azazel did have a position to ask for the key, because most demons now followed his command, and hell was originally their territory. Azazel said very thoughtfully, "I will compensate for the inconvenience Lucifer has caused you."
How?
Azazel presented Colossan, bluntly saying that Dream could take revenge on him, for Colossan had challenged Dream in hell. Dream retorted, "What if I have no intention of revenge?" Azazel replied, "I can also give you another gift." As soon as the words were spoken, it spat out half a human figure wrapped in a membrane. Dream recognized that it was Nada. Azazel tore Colossan to pieces, saying bluntly that if he didn't get the key, Nada would end up like Colossan. Dream didn't agree to Azazel on the spot, only saying he would give them a reply tomorrow. Then he waved his hand to dismiss him. Lucian thought it would be better to give the key to Azazel. Hell was his hometown, and giving him the key could also bring Nada's freedom. But Dream knew very well that Azazel would never be satisfied with ruling hell. He would use hell as a base to launch invasions and conquer every realm. Moreover, Dream would never accept blackmail. Late at night, Nuala couldn't sleep because of the noise from next door, so she went out for a walk. Unexpectedly, she met Dream, who was also not resting. The two talked about where the key would end up. Nuala admired Dream very much, and thought he would definitely give the best answer. It said that Dream was once a frequent visitor to Fairy. Unluckily, later his friendship with Queen Titania broke down, and their relationship became very tense, so much so that the residents of Fairy were forbidden to mention Orpheus, Dream, until one day, Dream did something significant to bridge the rift between the two worlds. It was on June 23, 1593, in the Sussex Downs, England. Dream invited the literary giant Shakespeare, and built a stage on Wendover Hill, to invite the fairy king and queen, from the other side of the mountain to watch the performance. At that time, Nuala and her brother were also among the invited. Shakespeare wrote a wonderful play based on King Oberon and Queen Titania, making their names and stories remembered by mortals. This approach won back the hearts of friends, and made the two worlds reconcile again. Nowadays, the legends of Oberon and Titania still circulated in the waking world, and Nuala always remembered what Dream said at that time. Dreams and legends are shadows of the truth, and they last longer. Even if the facts themselves turn to dust and are forgotten, dreams and legends will continue to exist.
You held a mirror up to my king and queen and showed them that they were the problem, not you. It is time to hold a mirror up to those who would impose hell upon you.
These words really inspired Dream. The next day, he gathered everyone to announce the result, saying, "Hell is the reflection of heaven, they define each other. Without hell, heaven has no meaning. Therefore, Dream is obligated to entrust it to those who perform their duties in the name of heaven."
Remil, Duma, the key is yours.
Azazel got angry as soon as he heard it. "After all this intrigue all night, you actually gave the key to people from heaven." He immediately showed his true form, trying to devour Nada's soul on the spot. Dream immediately grabbed Nada's hand, and pulled his beloved woman out. Unwilling to give up, Azazel swallowed Dream in one bite. "If I can't get hell, seizing the dreaming isn't a bad alternative." But the space flipped in an instant. In the blink of an eye, Azazel was trapped in Dream's bottle. He didn't even think that in the dreaming, all beings were subject to the will of Dream. This was his domain of authority. With Azazel as a warning, the others would certainly not question Dream's decision anymore. Now that things had come to this, everyone had to go back to their respective homes, and it was only when the well-fed and well-drunk Cruller remembered that the queen intended to give Nuala to Dream as a gift, and the other person wasn't allowed to refuse. If Nuala returned to Fairy, she might face the queen's great displeasure. Dream had no choice but to accept this gift. Nuala, realizing that she was being treated as an object for exchange, was completely disappointed with the queen and her brother. Rather than going back to Fairy where she wasn't respected, she would rather stay by Dream's side. Everyone warmly welcomed this beautiful guest to stay, but Taremus had to remind his master that there might be other guests still lingering here. Susanoo sneakily took off his clogs. Dream instantly saw through the disguise, and made Susanoo show his true form. That's right, he was actually transformed by Loki, the master of deception. Because of the failure of this operation, Odin would definitely lock him back in the dungeon, so Loki used a little trick to exchange appearances with Susanoo. The Loki who was tied back by Thor was the real Lord Susanoo. Dream wouldn't let his guest take the blame for Loki. For no reason, he could create a dream image to take Loki's place in enduring the pain of the underworld and then rescue Lord Susanoo. Loki knew that Dream wasn't so kind to help him, so he wanted to ask what the other person wanted. Dream said, "I haven't thought of it yet, just consider that you owe me a favor." The two reached an agreement on this. As for Nada, although she regained consciousness, but her love for Dream had long been exhausted. In the 10,000 years of purgatory, she had no intention of staying by Dream's side, and soon went to the mortal world alone. The enraged Dream ordered the suite built for Nada to be razed to the ground, and forbade anyone from mentioning her name. Just then, Matthew the Raven came to report that Delirium had paid an unexpected visit. Her visit this time was still about their missing brother, Destruction. Although Destruction was gone, his realm remained, and things were still being destroyed, yet no one was in control. When Dream was captured in the previous season, the dreaming was similarly thrown into chaos, so Delirium wanted to find Destruction, even if it was just to confront him and ask why he had abandoned his responsibilities and left. Delirium simply wanted to see him, so she begged Dream to help her. Before this, Delirium had already approached all her brothers and sisters, but was rejected without exception. Dream thought Delirium wouldn't suddenly think of this for no reason, so he went to the gallery to summon Desire. He wanted to find out if Desire was instigating things behind the scenes. Desire said helplessly, "It's true that I can interfere with what's in people's hearts, but both your 10,000-year broken heart and Delirium's obsession with her brother are your own issues. Can you not blame everything on me?" Dream declared that he wouldn't go looking for that brother who had betrayed the family. Desire breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing this. To be honest, he had been worried that Dream would use Delirium's desire to find their brother as an excuse to go to the mortal world in search of Nada. After Desire finished speaking, Dream immediately agreed to go with his sister. Didn't Lucian understand his master's thoughts? He must have wanted to take this opportunity to go out and find Nada. Meanwhile, Destruction was living a leisurely life.
What do you think of it so far?
The perspective shot to hell, the colours could have been better chosen.
Well, how do you know the colours are off? I thought dogs were colourblind.
Looking at that painting, I thought you were.
As soon as the words were spoken, The divination pool in the room began to spin continuously, which meant that big trouble was imminent. At the same time, Dream and Delirium had arrived in the waking world, which is what we know as the human world. The two planned to meet someone named Pharamond, who used to be a god, but his offerings dwindled and his temple was abandoned. Pharamond had to find another way to make a living. Now he oversaw transportation in the human world. The two soon arrived at a travel agency that offers luxury car services, and a female secretary named Wanda came out to greet them. Pharamond had told his secretary that Dream and his companion were members of a royal family, and that they had come to the US to visit a friend of their brother, so the secretary was to provide them with security and handle Dream concierge services in the US. Wanda carefully selected a classic car that was considered yet luxurious and sophisticated as their means of transportation. Delirium, on the other hand, had a list of all Destruction's living friends. The first person they were going to visit was one of the oldest mortals in the world. Dream explained that there were only 60 people left on Earth who had first-hand memories of mammoths and saber-toothed tigers, and Bernard Capax was one of them. He was a busy lawyer. At this point, Bernard was talking on the phone while passing through a construction zone, when the scaffolding above him suddenly collapsed and crushed him to death. Death immediately appeared to collect the soul, although Bernard felt unwilling. As a mortal he had lived for 12,000 years, and it was time to meet death with equanimity. Upon learning of Bernard's death, Delirium crossed out the first name on the list, and prepared to go find the second person. This time, the person they were going to meet was both a dancer and a god, so Delirium was confident. Gods weren't humans and do not die so easily. Hearing this, Dream had to remind his sister that Bernard's accidental death shortly after their arrival meant that someone wanted to stop them from continuing their search. Moreover, gods could be easily killed if people stopped believing in them. The reason this god had taken the form of a dancer and worked in a strip club was that she presided over love and desire between men and women. At this point, the dancer, Belle, was dancing passionately on stage, boldly showing off her hot figure. Dream followed her into the backstage. Their first meeting hadn't been pleasant. Dream had once advised Destruction that Belle wasn't worthy of him, thus ruining their relationship. Belle hadn't seen Destruction since then, which was almost a few centuries ago. Dream, seeing that Belle wasn't speaking, reminded her to be careful. After all, the last person who was close to Destruction had died inexplicably. Delirium thought it was a coincidence, but Dream thought that Destruction had killed Bernard. Upon hearing this, Belle removed her jewelry. People outside had never seen her true dance. The last time Belle danced, there were several temples built in her name, each with 50 priestesses. Unluckily, that glory was now gone. If tonight was destined to be her last night, Belle would die as a goddess. She changed her clothes and stood on the stage, while the wind blew the curtains and completely ignited the candles. The goddess's dance enchanted the mortals in the club, leaving everyone present dazzled and fascinated. Even as the fire spread to the stage, and gas leaked from the pipes, no one screamed or ran away. Seeing that the flames were about to engulf Belle, Dream quickly roused his sister and Wanda. Unluckily, an explosion soon occurred, and all the mortals present, including Wanda, were burned to death in the fire. Now only the last person remained on the list. If Delirium insisted on finding him, death would surely follow, and it was time to end this search. As soon as the words were spoken, Desire came to accuse him. I clearly warned you not to look for Destruction, but you chose to ignore my warning. So the tragic death of these innocent people is all your fault. Delirium quickly explained that it wasn't Dream's fault, he was just helping her. Desire mocked his sister for being too naive. Dream only agreed to come to the waking world with you, to look for Nada. He has no desire to find our brother at all.
Dream must think I'm very stupid.
Dream wasn't thinking of you at all.
You never liked me.
Delirium somewhat understood why Destruction wanted to stay away from these people, and now she didn't want to get close to these so-called family members either. The next day, Dream went back to the dreaming. He asked Lucian to investigate whether it was really Destruction who killed Bernard, Wanda, and the others. Lucian couldn't help but add that she thought Destruction was a good person, and suggested that Dream might as well talk to this younger brother and ask why he left. Lucian's words made Dream recall that Destruction had actually tried to pour out his heart to him, but he hadn't listened at all back then. In London, England, 1675, he was invited by Destruction to Arundel House to watch humans dissect an ape. Unlike Destruction, Dream wasn't curious about mortal life, but Destruction was full of interest in the world. Recently, a member of the Royal Society refracted the sun's rays into beams of different colors, but Mr. Newton, who inspired the rainbow experiment, had much more to say on the topic of optics. He believed that light and matter might be convertible into each other. This deeply touched Destruction. He had lived for far too long and knew well that certain ideas would become inevitable over time. Take the atom, as the Greeks called it. They would always find a way to split the indivisible atom, using it to kill each other and destroy themselves. And light and matter could indeed be converted, and the energy released thereby would melt human flesh and bones. and destroy their cities, as humans continue to progress and master more and more dangerous theories. The world would usher in an age of destruction, an age of fire and flame. Perhaps it was this terrifying discovery that made Destruction choose to leave everyone behind, for he didn't want to be responsible for humanity's destruction, nor did he want to bring destruction upon those he loved. This memory weighed heavily on Dream, and he decided to attend Wanda's funeral. This girl had experienced gender dysphoria since her teens, and had undergone hormone therapy despite her family's opposition. Because of her bold decision to transition, she was rejected by her devoutly religious family. Wanda had said in her lifetime that she had been waiting for her parents to accept her, but at the funeral, Dream learned from Wanda's aunt that the Undertaker, following the deceased's parents' instructions, had cut Wanda's hair short and dressed her in a male suit. Because this funeral wasn't held for Wanda, but to atone to God, Wanda's family firmly believed that the accident was God's punishment for their son's transition.
Wanda? Happy?
She was entirely herself, at all times.
How many of us can say that?
Death was never absent from a funeral. She knew Dream felt guilty, but for now, it was better to focus on those who were still alive. I wonder if you've noticed that Delirium's sigil has dimmed, and she's closed her realm. After saying that, Death picked up a stone, smashed open Delirium's realm, and told Dream to go in and talk to her. Delirium's realm was in utter chaos, filled with illusions everywhere. After all, the word delirium itself meant a state of mental confusion. At this point, Dream had a hallucination about Nada, and just as he was about to be ensnared, he suddenly caught a glimpse of Delirium. Dream hurriedly broke free from the illusion and chased after her. He found his sister near a sundial and sincerely apologized. To show his sincerity, Dream was willing to accompany her again, to continue searching for the missing Destruction. The innocent Delirium was soon mollified by her elder brother, but this time they didn't plan to go to the people on the list. To avoid bringing misfortune to them, since destruction was a family matter, they should ask for family help. Dream planned to talk to their eldest brother, Destiny. No matter whether the god of destiny was willing to lend a hand or not, the words he spoke would always reveal a bit of the divine truth. The two soon arrived at Destiny's realm. Talking to this god is very easy, because before you even open your mouth, Destiny already knows why you've come. He wouldn't reveal where destruction was, but he could tell Dream that if you want to find our brother, you need a prophet, and the Endless family did have a prophet.
My son.
In 1700 BC, Greece, Orpheus, the son of Dream, was about to hold a wedding with the woman he admired, but he lay on the seashore and had a nightmare, dreaming that his fiancée Eurydice drowned tragically. Filled with fear and anxiety, he asked his father if he could reveal the meaning of this dream. After all, his father was Dream, but Dream couldn't interfere with his son's dream, and just told him not to overthink. Weddings were rare among the Endless, so several of Dream's siblings attended to offer their congratulations. Only Destiny stood there in silence. After all, the god of destiny never offers wishes, he merely observes, for what is meant to happen will surely happen. The new couple was united in marriage. With the blessing of the priestess, everyone danced wildly in the courtyard. The gods of the Endless had long since taken their leave, except for Death, who lingered.
I also have things to do, brother.
At this point, Eurydice took Orpheus' hand and invited her husband to dance with her, but Orpheus, like his father, was clumsy at dancing and didn't want to embarrass himself in front of others. Upon hearing this, Eurydice simply pulled him to a secluded forest clearing, away from the crowd, to dance under the moonlight. Unexpectedly, a venomous snake bit Eurydice. Orpheus quickly rushed to his wife's side. He caught sight of his aunt approaching, quickly asked her to look after Eurydice, and ran back to call for help. Poor Orpheus, in his urgency, had forgotten that this aunt was the god of death, and she had come only to take Eurydice's soul away. His wife died a tragic death on their wedding day, and Orpheus could hardly bear the grief. He begged his father to plead with Hades, the lord of the underworld, saying he was even willing to trade his own life for Eurydice's, but Dream would never allow his son's life to be traded, so he refused Orpheus' request.
If you will not do this for me, then I am no longer your son.
Grief-stricken Orpheus was bent on death, but luckily, destruction stopped him in time. He told his nephew, "Your father does care about you, just in a rather special way. Since you're so reluctant to part with Eurydice, why not go talk to Death? She can do as she pleases, but there will always be conditions." After saying that, Destruction stretched out his hand toward the boulder opposite, and tore open Death's realm. With flames, Orpheus mustered up the courage to walk in, and found it surprisingly peaceful and serene. It turned out that Destruction was right. Death could indeed do as she pleased. She could allow Orpheus to go into and leave the underworld freely, but on the condition that from then on, Orpheus would never die. It sounded like a blessing, but over time, it would prove to be no good. But Orpheus was resolute. He accepted Death's blessing, and asked his aunt to open the gates of the underworld for him. The young boy went to a place he should never have set foot in to save his lover. Hades, the lord of the underworld, and Persephone, the queen of the underworld, were seated high at either end of the stone tower. Orpheus was a minstrel and balladeer. He sang a love ode to the underworld king and queen, telling through his song how Eurydice died tragically, and his own feelings of overwhelming grief and longing to bring her back. Orpheus' song lit up the dark underworld, even making the Furies shed tears. Hades finally agreed to give him a chance, saying there was a path leading to the world above. As long as he followed that path, Eurydice would follow him like a shadow, but he must remember not to look back for her or speak to her during the whole journey. Only when sunlight shines on both of them would Eurydice go back to him. As soon as he finished speaking, a path appeared before them. Orpheus walked straight ahead with his head down, but as he was about to step into the light, he couldn't help but look back, losing his lover at the last second. After leaving the underworld, Orpheus was disheartened and deliberately lured the Maenads. It was said that these crazy followers of Dionysus would traverse forests and fields at night, tearing to pieces everything they met with. The Maenads did pounce on Orpheus, tore off his head, and threw it off a cliff, but even then, Orpheus couldn't die. Dream walked over to his son's severed head and told him, "I have contacted the priestesses. They will find you and take care of you. I will never come to see you again." Orpheus begged his father to kill him, but Dream could only turn a deaf ear and leave the scene. Now, Delirium came back after a walk and saw Dream looking listless. She could tell it was Destiny's doing.
Do you know why I stopped being Delight, my brother? You see, there are things not in your book.
After Delirium finished speaking, she followed Dream, who was already ready to find Orpheus. In exchange, Dream could grant his wish and personally end Orpheus' immortality. Before that, we should also talk about what happened to that severed head later. In 1794, Orpheus' head was stolen from the island. Dream came to a Baroness room and asked her to send the severed head back to the island. Late at night, Baroness Johanna hurried through the streets of Paris with Orpheus' head, but was stopped by two soldiers with guns. They insisted on checking Johanna's package, so she had to hold out the severed head and lied. "This noble beast violated my sister, so I persuaded the executioner to give me his head, to take home an account to my mother." Johanna said this while spitting on Orpheus' face. The two soldiers believed her, but one of them suddenly stepped forward and tore off Orpheus' valuable earring. Johanna took the head back to her residence and cleaned Orpheus' head with water. Unluckily, his torn ear wouldn't grow back, otherwise, Orpheus' body would have long since regrown completely. From their conversation, it's known that Johanna is a baroness of the Constantine family, a noble lady in Republican France. If caught, she would be sent to Robespierre's guillotine. The Robespierre mentioned here is a statesman during the French Revolution, the highest leader of the Jacobin dictatorship. Orpheus and Johanna shared the same misfortune. As a prophetic, talking human head, he also offended Robespierre, and was locked in a dungeon as an ominous object. Thanks to Johanna's timely appearance, Orpheus was able to see the light again. Of course, he quickly guessed that this baroness was most likely a rescuer sent by his father. Johanna said that although they had just escaped, the two soldiers had probably told their superiors about them, and the news would spread soon. Sure enough, early the next morning, Robespierre led people to break in, to find the stolen head from the dungeon. Because Johanna refused to reveal its whereabouts, she was imprisoned in the Luxembourg Palace. That night, she saw Dream in her dream. Johanna reminded him, "If you don't help soon, both your son's head and mine will be lost." Although Dream didn't clearly propose a solution, he reminded Johanna, "In the place where you hid Orpheus, can he sing? If you have heard Orpheus singing, you will understand what I mean." The next day, Robespierre opened the cell door triumphantly, saying he had guessed where the head was hidden. Just as people hide books in libraries and flowers in gardens, Johanna hid Orpheus' head among a pile of other severed heads, mixed in with the bodies that hadn't yet been thrown into the lime pit. Now Robespierre took Johanna to the pile of heads and told her to find Orpheus' head. Johanna did as she was told and picked out Orpheus, who was playing dead, from the pile of heads.
"Now must I, Orpheus, send to them."
Orpheus sang of freedom and liberation. It was a song full of power. It cast a spell over the listeners, and even Robespierre and his men stood transfixed, listening like statues. The song of freedom spread to every corner of France, bringing an end to Robespierre's reign of terror. Following Dream instructions, Johanna took Orpheus to an unnamed island off the Greek coast, and returned the head to the temple at the highest point. There, Orpheus and the priests guarding him would hide beneath the clouds, away from the mortal world. Now, Dream and Delirium arrived at that Greek island. Delirium looked at her brother's back and quickly chased after him. She didn't want to see Dream kill his own son, so she wanted to give up searching for destruction. As soon as she finished speaking, 3 people came out. Upon hearing that Dream was the prophet's father, they quickly made way. Orpheus didn't resent his father. It was his own willfulness that had led to the current situation. And what's more, his father had always sent people to take care of him. The father and son talked for a long time, and Orpheus told Dream where destruction was. Destruction was hiding on the island that stood in distant view of the temple. Destruction really knew Dream well, he'd probably hid here because he knew full well that Dream wouldn't dare to approach Orpheus. Delirium happily threw herself into her brother's arms. As soon as she saw him, Destruction invited them to eat together and explained that the deaths of Belle and others were really unintentional. When Destruction left that day, he set up a special wishing well that would prevent outsiders from finding him. He never thought it would harm those innocent people. Dream asked Destruction to explain in person why he had abandoned everything and left, and whether he would go back with them. Destruction refused without hesitation. Even if he wasn't in his own realm, people and things still existed and were still destroyed. They could create destruction on their own. This is not my responsibility, nor is it my fault. Destruction had decided to leave this island and go to a place where no one could find him. Delirium begged Destruction not to abandon her again. Dream had his own birds and servants, but Delirium was all alone. Upon hearing this, Destruction approached the talking old dog and asked if he was willing to leave with Delirium.
Can't I go with you?
You would not survive in the places I'm traveling to, friend.
I see.
Finally, Destruction told Dream, I left out of love for humanity, for this world. You must remember that no matter what you do, love is the only justifiable reason. In the end, the three bid farewell under the moonlight, and Destruction gradually vanished into the sky. Luckily, this trip wasn't in vain. They no longer needed to ask why Destruction left, nor whether he would come back. Dream gained some advice. Delirium also got a little dog. Now they should go back to the temple to repay Orpheus for guiding them. The latter had begged the gods for thousands of years, and finally, he could obtain his final peace at his father's hands.
Our journey is at an end. All debts are paid.
Dream said goodbye to his sister and went back to his realm. After assigning today's work, he ran into the room and scrubbed the bloodstains on his hands frantically. Yet the story is far from over. Dream slaughtered his own bloodline, and those with a sense of benevolence will surely bring charges against him. But the first half of this season's story ends here. Netflix will release the remaining content in the second half of this month. If you like my channel, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe.